Beware of information dumps. Do you know what an information dump is? It's a long, long paragraph where you get told an awful lot of things that you maybe need to know, but not all at once. Never tell it. Show it. If he found something or other, don't say he found it. Let's see him discovering it. Reading a newspaper and coming across an article he hadn't seen. Going through a lot of drawers in a desk and discovering a paper he didn't know was there. Walking into a room and seeing that the furniture's been moved. Whatever it is, tell it, don't show it. And I know that I'm guilty sometimes of taking a shortcut. And I think, that is boring. If somebody else had written that in a book, I would skip that bit. You skip bits in books, you see it coming, blocks and blocks of description, and you skip it. Well, people are going to skip yours as well, because we all tend to see these big, heavy chunks, and it's like being served a slab of meat that's too big to get hold of. Little bits, and have it with the drama to it, a personal experience of something, not a recounting of it. The conflict, the tension, can be of any degree. You can have science fiction, intergalactic wars, global, national, local, family, internal, just a family, maybe two siblings who have a real rivalry, a conflict. They love each other, but they still get times when they can't stand the sight of each other. Two sisters, both want to marry, one does and the other one doesn't. Or both want children, one can have them and one can't. That's not going to be an open quarrel necessarily. It could build up for a long time. You can't say, I hate you because you've got children and I haven't. But inside, you might get a boiling up of that resentment. It's not fair is one of the earliest things we learn to say. About the very first one is no, meaning I'm not you, I'm separate, I can make up my mind and be myself. And then the second one probably is why? Explain to me. And the third one is it's not fair. And we all have that feeling at times, and no, life is not fair. But how do we come to terms with it? And there can be the conflict when you're torn apart because two people care for each other and they belong to completely different national or religious or cultural backgrounds. How do you overcome that? Can you overcome it? Certainly you can sometimes, but maybe there are some times when the difference is just too deep. The loyalties are too torn. And that brings me to one of the most powerful storylines you can ever have between torn loyalties. We all have a basic instinct, if we're halfway decent, to be loyal to whatever background we've committed ourselves, loyal to family, loyal to people who've helped us, loyal to our community, loyal to our nation. But when you get two loyalties and they pull you in opposite directions, what, for example, if you belong to a small country that is going to war and you know that they need you, but you also believe profoundly that this war is wrong? What are you going to do? My country right or wrong? Or my first loyalty is to what I believe is right? And maybe you don't realize quite what a terrible conflict that is until you see somebody else choose my country right or wrong. And then you realize they've done something wrong for which you are blaming them. But they are in the same situation that you are. There's a story for you. Straight away, deep, deep personal conflict. Neither answer is necessarily right or wrong, and either answer is going to cost you deeply. If you go against your conscience, you're never going to be happy with it, no matter how hard you try to justify it to yourself. But if you go against your own people, what have you lost? You've become an outcast, a person without a home, without a country. And yet, how many people must have faced these situations? Millions of people. Now there's a conflict. There's a deep, tearing internal conflict at the background of an international conflict. That's going to hold people. It's going to hold you. And you're going to think, what would I have done? What would I do if I ever had to face my own family, my own people, and say, I'm sorry, but what I believe and what you're asking me to do is wrong. I can't do it. You get conscientious objectors. They get thrown in prison. How do their families suffer? But there are lots of different levels on which you get this conflict with other people and with yourself. And you can have any combination of conflicts you want, from the simplest, just of a social background of somebody maybe who is very bright and gets the opportunity for a very high education, but who has brothers and sisters and parents who don't have that opportunity or chose not to take it. What of a married couple? It usually works rather well if the husband forges ahead and the wife stays at home and looks after the children. How about if the wife could forge ahead? That doesn't always work so well, does it? Do you want to be fulfilling of your own dreams and your own abilities? Do you perhaps feel that if your ability is, shall we say, medical, you could forge ahead, you could save lives, but it's going to be at the cost of your domestic comfort? Are you going to do that or not? I don't know whether there's a right or wrong answer, but I know there's a very, very difficult question. That's a conflict even if you never put it into open words. If you never fight about it, it can be seething under the surface all the time. What are the beliefs? And they might change very well. But if you do submerge your own desires and your own talents, who you really are, in order to retain the love of your family, are you ultimately going to resent them and blame them for your decision, even if they really had no idea? And if they'd known, they would have said, go ahead and do it, we'll love you anyway. Or they might have come to it, or not.